Gross margin it's a simple formula. It's you're taking your, if it's for your business, you're taking your total sales or revenue, you're subtracting what the total costs of the goods are of delivering that product or service. So if it's a project, you can look at your gross margin by project. If you're the one that has the profit and loss responsibility for your business, then we tend to look at this not just by project, but monthly and even quarterly, because it gives us different perspectives, Khalil. So I'm interested in two things. What's my dollar gross profit formula? So and I'll give you an example on the other side of the board here. But I also want to know what the percentage is, because one of the things you learn as a business leader is you should have a predetermined expectation, and we could talk about how you get there, of what your target gross profit is by job or really for your business each month. Excuse me. When Rich and I build a project, we are typically delivering 5 things. For example, in a turnkey rental exhibit, right? Flooring, the hardware that goes into it. That could be exhibit structure, furniture, AV. It's the graphic messaging that goes on the exhibit. It's the delivery, transportation to and from our facility to whatever the event site is. And then it's the professional labor to set it up and take it down, the dismantle and the repack. There are different profit margins for each one of those things, but we have an expectation of what the blended average is for those 5 things. And so we learn that over time, but you really should know that going in. And I think most of our listeners probably have that. So I would like to know, each month, what's the dollar amount we're left with? Because really, it's not your sales that you pay your bills from, right? It's really, it's our gross profit dollars, which is sales minus all the stuff it costs us, labor and materials to deliver on those things. Well, what's left on that is our gross margin, our gross profit. Those are the dollars that then we say, okay, our payroll, our lights, our rent, our phones, our utilities, all general expenses are sort of our monthly fixed costs come from that bucket. But it's funny, I was talking with one of the guys in the back and I say, these people are buying 2 lights or renting 2 lights. They're $75 each. How much do we make on that? He said, 75 times 2. We make $150. Well, we don't make $150. So anyway, if that's not a discussion, if you're a manager listening that you've had with your people, it's worth having that in your next monthly all staff meeting. You might be surprised how many people really don't understand what that is. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the danger there also is when you're focusing on just that top line revenue metric for where you're going to be taking out your, look at this. Chris is flipping the whiteboard. He's got new information for us on the other side.
So I'm throwing this clue just so as an example, this might be very simply what a monthly report might look like for a company. You're looking at what your product sales are. You're looking at what your service sales are. You might break those down more specifically. Maybe there's other sales of some kind. It could be storage and asset management or repairs you make.
Yeah.
Anyway, your total revenue is that number. But then I have to think about what is my cost to produce and deliver those things. So we add those up. And in my world, right, it could be materials. We have what we call labor in, which is labor in-house that we use when we're prepping things. Labor out is the labor in the field, which is a different type of labor for us. Yeah. Transportation, and man, if you're in our industry and you're listening right now, there's a driver shortage, there's a trailer shortage. You know how disruptive the oil and gas costs are. So that's always changing. There's assets we own, rental in, but if we're renting furniture or an 85-inch monitor or a video wall that is not something we have in house, we have a cost from a supplier that we rent out, and there might be some other things as well. So we add all those total costs up. So in this example, I don't know if you can see it if you're watching, but I'm showing total revenue of $2.1 million. When I add up all the costs to deliver that, I've got $1.26 million of expense related to that. The difference, the $840,000, that's what we have to pay our monthly bills. So anyway, we'll talk about, the things and by the way, the average on that, that I take the 840 and I'm dividing that by what my total revenue is. tells me I have a 40% gross profit. And so part of what you think about when you decide how much space you're going to rent, how many people you can hire, right? I have to base it all off that 840,000 if that's what my annual gross
Yeah.
profit is. I can't run out and spend more than that if the company isn't supporting it. So that's why it becomes really important to manage those costs
Hmm.
in a way, because we want as much in that bottom bucket as possible.